In 2016, one of this channel's earliest videos was of Sugarloaf Ski Resort. Just weeks after filming, it was announced that the resort had been purchased. Big things were finally going to happen at the iconic abandoned resort. Though the developer talked a big game, nothing was done except put the resort into the news. That extra attention saw literally dozens of the curious come to the structure daily, and with that came vandals. I had made it my goal to see and capture every square inch of the loaf before the inevitable wrecking ball, and in the ensuing years from the original video, I returned anytime I was in the area, watching it become more desolate with each trip. Sugarloaf wasn't always a dead place. For decades, it was the life of the community, a place where you could experience the sweet life.
Sugarloaf, discover woods and waters. Sugarloaf, a world that's like no other for the great resort life you deserve to know. Discover Sugarloaf, everything for everyone. The dream awakes with every season. Sugarloaf, experience the sweet life. Sugarloaf, experience the fun for the great resort life you deserve to know. Experience Sugarloaf.
Locals had used the 827-foot tall mountain since 1929 to take their students on skiing trips. In the 1940s, the county decided to purchase 400 acres with the plan of a winter sports complex. Though World War II slowed the project, in January 1947, the Sugarloaf Winter Sports Club opened with a dedication by the state governor. At a height of 315 feet, 23 runs were eventually spread across the mountain, with one to rule them all. The steepest hill in the Midwest. Awful, awful.
Wow, what a run. Unbelievable hill. Steepest hill in the Midwest, they say. I believe them. The view from the top gets you excited coming down. That's why I come here. It's too much fun.
Locals had used the tall mountain since 1929 to take their students on skiing trips. With its base ending right in front of the restaurant and nightclub, many skiers attempted the hill, but few conquered it. Legend has it that prior to becoming a ski hill, the 45-degree slope was a potato field used so planters didn't need to bend over while digging. Upon hearing this, the new owner stated, "That's awful," to which someone else replied, "It's more than awful. It's awful, awful." We enter into the original section of the property.
Skiers can warm up with hearty fare in the Bucket Bar cafeteria overlooking the slopes. Or stop by Tonelli's Pizzeria and Delicatessen for great pizza, oversized sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts.
Like there's still friggin' Pepsi and stuff. And in here, there were still alcohol bottles. They were drained, but they're still there.
Pepsi's a good year.
Cross-country enthusiasts of all abilities can take advantage of Sugarloaf's Nordic ski. Over 22 kilometers of groomed track trails weave through the wooded hills surrounding the resort. Trails range from beginners through advanced, and all are just steps from the lodge. Rental equipment and professional instruction are also available.
Here's like a ski thing with like their name, child's name. Oh, it was like for children, like so they have their thing, like know who they are. Chairlift release form. While in later years the resort was considered top tier in the Midwest, unlike its competitors in the West and East, Michigan's weathers are not always conducive to skiing, and by 1955, Sugarloaf would close. Ironically, this was the same time that skiing began to become a more popular sport to the public, and that popularity would lead to newlyweds Patricia and Jim Ganter to purchase Sugarloaf in 1964. Jim managed the property, while Pat became an accredited professional ski instructor of America. The Ganters set about immediately expanding the property, with construction of a hotel, outdoor pool, golf club, and airstrip beginning in 1966. That same year, the Michigan State Championship ski tournaments were held at the Loaf. Now, we're going to get to the cool spots of the resort in a minute, but I want to step out to the airstrip for one unique story I found. While the 4,500 foot long airstrip is no longer lighted, it does still see the occasional small airplane land here, but back in September 1967, it may have been used by something from another planet. It was between 8 and 9 p.m. when a group at a nearby house spotted lights hovering over Lake Leelanau for about 30 seconds before rapidly ascending and disappearing. Jim Ganter himself also reported a similar sighting above the airstrip around the same time. Another story tied to this airport happened in 1976. It was about 3 hours south of Sugarloaf where a plane attempted to make an emergency landing on the highway when it crashed, killing 2 and wounding 7 inside. Police believe 3 families inside had been at Sugarloaf either skiing or looking at property and returning back home when the plane lost power.
You can choose between lodge rooms, townhouses, or luxury condominiums for your Sugarloaf escape.
Here's like checks. Sugarloaf Hospitality Resources checks. sign too. Obviously, these are outdated since they're from '99, but on an application for employment, it's filled out too, nonetheless. Can't show it obviously, but
A full complement of restaurants, lounges, shops, and other amenities, along with an outstanding staff, guarantee a relaxed and enjoyable stay. Northern Michigan hospitality at its best.
as the 1970s began, between 3,000 and 4,000 skiers visited the loaf per day, which was noted as having some of the highest lift fees in the state at that time. The resort was frequently at full capacity and continued expanding with another hotel wing and more year-round entertainment.
Somebody, what?
Like,
Oh, what kind of a
somebody soiled
degenerate.
it.
Man. And the Holy Bible's right here.
After a day on skis, take a break in Sugarloaf swimming pool or unwind in the saunas.
Sadly, in 1987, 2 young girls were found unconscious at the bottom of this pool after trying to see who could hold their breath the longest. One of them died and the other was left in critical condition.
Kind of cool. It's like a bib that says Ski Wee on it.
But it seems Sugarloaf got too big for its britches. In 1978, they reported a 30% increase in sales from the previous year. But then, after several poor performing years, along with high interest rates, led the Ganters to default on a loan in 1981, and the bank took over the property, keeping the Ganters on while it operated in Chapter 11 bankruptcy. The following year, a fire destroyed 4 of the 70 condos.
Yeah, so this was like the presidential suite.
In 1983, a group of Detroit area businessmen purchased the property and set about upping the marketing, which they believed was the resort's downfall. They also had wisely increased the slope snowmaking capabilities by 25%.
Like, the towels are still folded on this thing. That's what I just am in love with. They're just untouched.
Are they nice?
The resort was also the first in Michigan to use Snowmax to manufacture its snow, a new formula that contained a bacterium that when combined with water and shot on the slopes would instantly form ice crystals. This new product was hoped to enable resorts to open sooner and close later in the season and is still used today.
So these were the snow makers, I guess you would call it. I don't know the proper language, and you can also hear something is still on back in here. And those are all the hoses, I guess, that they would shoot it out with. So this is the water reserve that they would get the water from to pump and make the snow. Some sort of rest. Oh, yeah, they are. For CPR.
From 1980 until its closure, the Michigan Winter Special Olympics were held at Sugarloaf. At its height in the early 90s, 900 physically and mentally handicapped people participated in snowshoe races, ice skating, broomball, and of course, skiing.
Convenient shops and restaurants are only steps away from your room and the slopes.
Porsche simulator before.
A full range of rental equipment is available.
This is absolutely nuts.
During the summer months, the hills were open to mountain bikers who enjoyed the rugged terrain. In fact, round 5 of the 1991 World Cup Series was held at the resort.
This was the warming station up on top of the loaf. They had a little fire, you could sit here. And it looks like somebody else had a little fire more recently.
Surprisingly, little crime itself ever seems to have happened at the loaf, with the only report I found being from 1974 when someone broke into 3 cars and stole a purse with a large sum of money. 2 years later, someone called police saying that the resort was being held up and someone had been shot, causing police to rush on icy roads to get there only to find it had been a hoax.
This is where they would control it. Here's so you can turn it on or off and stop start.
In January 1999, someone fired a gun into a power line nearby, which left the resort and slopes powerless for a short time, including people being stuck on lifts.
Yeah, look at that condensation down here. Some nice black mold. That's great to breathe in. We'll be quick. I know.
Fucker's wetter than Space Jam. Oh, hey, look at this old Nokia.
We've been standing in water, we didn't even know. How dumb we are.
Well, I mean, I did spray these with waterproof spray, but, you know. Well, I got my 231, I'm happy. Damn, fuck.
So many like tools and stuff left. Vacuum cleaners. Just this like haze down here from condensation. Yeah, this was like more like woodworking. Look at they have all the sawdust there. And stencils where they would make like signs and stuff.
Lodge guest parking only.
Anywhere. Any slow.
Total 90s.
Oh, I wish I could peel that off.
Look at all these.
All the hard hats out there.
This freight elevator is possibly the one that would cause the resort to finally revert back to the bank again. In 1994, a maintenance man was working underneath when the platform released and fell onto his head and shoulders. The subsequent lawsuit was a major reason why the bank regained control of the resort in 1997. However, the previous owners still retained the golf course and water treatment facility.
Yeah, all their layouts and stuff. Ski Lift Co. Inc. So these are, for like the ski lifts.
In 1996, an 18-year-old ski lift operator decided to jump up and grab onto the lift equipment, which resulted in injuries so severe he died en route to the nearby hospital in Traverse City. No mechanical errors were found, and his reason for doing so was not determined. Race codes, so this was like where they would have an announcer's thing. Now this is weird that it's like German or Dutch, it looks like. Amidst this, in 1997, Remo Polselli, owner of the Grand Hotels and Resorts chain, purchased Sugarloaf but could not obtain its liquor license. In August 1999, the resort would be placed for sale at $8.5 million, but by October that year, after no takers, they had filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. That winter was a bad one, and the resort closed its doors for good in March. And this is where the property's story moves from the slopes to the courts. By 2001, Huntington Bank attempted to foreclose on the property after still being owed $3 million from a $4 million loan. Meanwhile, a small crew had been attempting to reopen the resort for the upcoming winter season, but lawsuits prevailed and the resort was put up for auction by the bank in 2002. Somehow, Polselli seemed to have retained ownership of the resort, despite being chased by the IRS for failure to pay millions of dollars in taxes since the early 90s.
Every Saturday night, Sugarloaf guests enjoy a magnificent buffet in the Four Seasons dining room. From the full salad bar through an impressive array of desserts, dinner promises to appeal to one and all. Choose your evening. Elegant dining in the Four Seasons dining room, night skiing on our lighted slopes, or fun and entertainment at the top of the loop.
In 2005, the executive director of a drug and alcohol rehab center in Battle Creek, Michigan, purchased the resort with plans to open it as an extreme sports park the following year. This would be one of the first many false promises the locals got, as they eagerly anticipated the reopening of the largest employer in the county. In 2010, an Olympic boxer, Enrico Smith, claimed to have purchased a resort while he had an active warrant out for his arrest for embezzlement charges on a previous venture. 3 years later, he was still making claims of opening a 560-acre snowboarders mecca called the ROK at Sugarloaf. Meanwhile, Kate Wickstrom, who had owned the property since purchasing it in 2005, had been attempting to transfer the deed back to Polselli since 2013, but authenticity issues stalled this until the following year. Finally, in 2016, for settling lawsuits against Polselli, California-based redeveloper Jeff Katofsky purchased Sugarloaf as part of a 3-property deal. By now, locals were weary of new plans, and Katofsky was vague, stating he only planned to open a year-round resort that may have a few ski hills, with work to begin in 2020 and opening in 2024. Instead, yet again, the deadlines were missed and people were pissed. Jeff had failed to secure the property other than a cheap chain link fence, and even worse, had allowed local fire crews to basically destroy entire areas for practice. Look at it, this is a fucking zoo.
kidding me? Look at all these people parked out here. This place is a fucking zoo nowadays. Oh my god, look at all these fucking girls. They're heading right in. No idea that you could be seen. Look at that.
This is how herpes spreads.
This is how people get arrested.
Oh no.
The township had motions to implement fines each day nothing went done. But then a new owner emerged. Though they've kept anonymous, they did finally do the inevitable at this point. Demolition work began on Sugarloaf summer 2021. As of 2023, no plans have been announced for the future of the land.
I think, like so many people, we're excited and hopeful that that Sugarloaf will once again, come back to life.
I hope it means that, now we're going to get somebody in that's going to make it a viable entity for Leelanau County again.
I really enjoy skiing at Sugarloaf. It has something for everybody. You can ski at your own pace here. There's nice rolling hills and also challenging terrain.
The snow's great, skiing's great. Having a really good time here at Sugarloaf. Really good time.
If you have kids, the kids club or nursery, it gives a chance for the parents to get away and do some free skiing. I think I'll enjoy some of that.
The food here is terrific, and you cannot match this view. Shelley?
having a great time.